morning to our dear viewers. Welcome to another edition of The Other Perspective. This is Abel Eseru, your moderator of the show today. We are going to be discussing about the impact of political decisions on infrastructure development in Uganda. We do know that infrastructure is a key priority for the government of Uganda. During the past few years, infrastructure development has contributed immensely to increase productivity by facilitating efficient connectivity and easing the movement of goods and provisions of services. Currently, the infrastructure funding comprises of about 32.8% of the government's total annual expenditure. There are very many developments on the area of infrastructure that the government of Uganda has undertaken. For example, we have seen currently the Entebbe Kampala Express Highway, which is known as the world's most expensive road, is now being used, and the government is collecting fees from the users of the road. And we have also seen the revival of the Uganda Airlines, and we are seeing also the water transport has also been improved, and that's where we are going to base our discussions from. So I'm joined. We have three guest panelists who are going to be sharing with us their insights regarding the impact of political decisions on the infrastructure development in Uganda. We have Gerald Koraneza, who is a youth political activist, who is going to share with us his perspective. Gerald, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Abel, for hosting me. Morning, dear viewers.
We shall also have Priska Wanyenya. Priska Wanyenya is a journalist who reports from Uganda's parliament, and she will also be with us today in the show. Priska, you're welcome.
Thank you, Abel. Good morning to our viewers. I'm so glad you've hosted me again today. I don't take such an opportunity for granted.
And then we shall also have Mr. Henry Muguzi, who is an expert in the field of electoral democracy and also a human rights activist. Henry, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Abel. And of course, always a pleasure for me to be interacting with the rest of the colleagues, Priska and Gerard, and other, of course, also the listeners, and also to tell that I'm also a pro-democracy activist. So that should be clear. But a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we proceed, our viewers outside there, please follow us on Facebook, like our Facebook page, ACFIM Uganda, and also on YouTube, ACFIM Uganda, and then on Twitter, please follow us as ACFIM UG. So Henry, I will start with you. You have seen the government of Uganda has done some bit of work in form of developing the infrastructure in the country. We have seen the revival of the Uganda Airlines. We have seen the government has also now kickstarted the charging of fees from the Entebbe Kampala Express Highway, which costed US dollars 470 million, which is now known as the most expensive road on the entire world. How have the political decisions helped in the infrastructure development in Uganda?
Thank you very much, Abel, for that very interesting question. And also the theme for us to be interrogating the political decisions, the decisions on infrastructure development, to ask ourselves the question whether these decisions are informed by economics or they are informed by politics, and whether they can find space in the arena of economic logic or in the arena of political logic. The truth must be told that quite a number of, a sizable chunk of investment has been made in the direction of infrastructure. The road network, I think the regime of Mr. Museveni shall be remembered for the roads they have opened up across the country. We also remember the bridges. I think critical of these being the Ginger Nile Bridge, which was recently concluded. The quality of it notwithstanding. The airport, we've been told now and then that's been expanded, although sometimes you reach the airport and say, but this is the same old airport. Where is the expansion? Until you are told what is there. So the expansion is not obvious, but when you are told, you can see a semblance of it. And so quite a number of infrastructure have been taken. But the bigger question would be, Abel and colleagues, is what is forming these? You spoke about the express highway, but I think you also fell short of mentioning the northern bypass, which I think is also one of the most expensive projects. It's been under construction for the last 20 years. And you wonder what kind of, and this road we are talking about is 20 kilometers long. So these, and you wonder why. Now, when you look at Kampala, for example, Kampala has 6,000 square kilometers, has 6,000 kilometers of roads, which only 2,000 is tarmacked. And yet, over 70% of the revenue collected comes from Kampala. And then you ask yourself, the decision to start Kampala of roads and take them elsewhere, is this an economic decision or is it a political decision? You have regions that have received roads, but these roads have not necessarily boosted or triggered or spurred, if you like, development. And then you ask yourself, was the decision to do this road and not the other informed by economics or by politics? I think the answer is, in a situation, in the context where a very high premium is attached onto regime survival, you can't help but conclude that most of the decisions on which infrastructure to prioritize in the national budget is informed, those decisions are informed largely by politics rather than economics. You spoke about that expressway. We were told just recently that in 3 days they had collected over 250 million shillings. And then you ask yourself, if that be true, what were they waiting for all along? And if that is the case, if we collected 250 million in 3 days, it means that in 1 year, we will have collected a sizable chunk. And maybe we can take that as a model to open up many other roads and charge money on it. You ask yourself a question. Uganda has for the longest time had one gateway to the sea, and that is the Ginger Road. Okay? I think it would have been obvious if it were economics that if I am taking over government in 1986, the first priority I would have given would be to open up the only gateway to the sea, which would have been either I open up the Ginger Road, Marababusia route, or I open up the Mutukula, route. But all those roads are in a deplorable state. And then you ask yourself, the reluctance to open up this road, never mind these roads, never mind that now the efforts to open up Ginger Expressway are being fast-tracked. But the decision to delay the works on these gateways to the sea, is it an economic decision or is it a political decision? Is the delay informed by politics or is it informed by economics? And therefore, along the way, you find that many decisions are being informed by politics. And the unfortunate thing, and as I conclude on this matter, Abel, is that we have seen over time that every time politics comes face to face with economics, politics captures economics. And when politics captures economics, the resultant decision doesn't always happen to be one that benefits the citizenry, but rather one that serves interests of regime longevity and the survival. I submit. Back to you, Abel.
Thank you, Henry. Now I want to bring on board Priska. Priska, you report at Parliament, and you know that Uganda worldwide has one of the most expensive roads of and that is the Kampala Express Highway, which costed us over 476 million US dollars. And part of that money, large chunks of that money was contributed by China. 74% of it came from China. And also the contractors who worked on the road came from China. And Ugandans were left out. So it seems like the money went back to Chinese. What do you make of such a decision whereby we get loans from a country and then also we award the contracts for constructing the road to the same country? Where do the local contractors in Uganda, where do we leave the local contractors in Uganda? And how do you think they can benefit if the political leaders are getting loans and also giving out the contracts to those very countries to make those roads? Do you think Ugandans are benefiting or they are just being left outside?
Thanks, Abel. But if you have been critical about most of the contracts that are signed between China, that has always been the case, because I remember in 2016 that there was a special audit conducted on the Entebbe Expressway. The Auditor General hired an external consultant who came before Kosase, that was headed by Katuntu at that time. And it's during that special audit that I got to know the road that was inside Junran, because from the genesis of it, it's China, the Chinese people who worked inside the offices of Yunnan told them, we can build for you the road to help you save the jam, reduce on the jam. They walked into with their briefcases, and UNRWA gave them the leeway to conduct the feasibility study, and China brought in the contractors, and still the consultants also were from China. So basically everything was done by China. And so back to some of the findings in the consultant's report, because he was with the committee throughout the time. And one of the things he told us that the price of the audit report revealed that the price of Entebbe Expressway was inflated by 57 billion shillings. So when you're computing, when you're talking about the 1 trillion that went into the construction of them, you know that someone out there walked away with 57 billion, because the price was inflated by 57 trillion. From what I know is it was 16 million US dollars, but if you at the time we were doing the story, it was around 55, 56. So that is roughly 57 billion shillings. So that is, if you're now asking me about the essence or the benefit of the road, for me, the 57 alone, when I look at what the 57 billion would do in this country, that is why I don't think there is anything good that is going to come from that road. And even the consultant told us at the time that given the design, the road is not going to be in position to reduce the jam at Entebbe Road. And his findings have come, because has the jam reduced on Entebbe Road? And when you try to compare, the consultant tried to compare the same road that was built by the same company, the CCC, in Ethiopia. Luyimbaz, who is now the deputy ED at KCA, he was the director planning at UNRWA at that time, before he was arrested over the corruption, the Katosi scandal. Luyimbaz tried to defend the price and said that you cannot compare the road in Ethiopia to the expressway in Uganda, because the expressway in Uganda has swamps as opposed to the one in Ethiopia. But the consultant fired back and told them that the bridges you're talking about, that you're using as a basis for this price were unnecessarily wide. It's just as the same as the Kampala bypass. You know that right now they are modifying the what? They're modifying the roundabouts because they were also unnecessarily wide. Because they were wide and they shot up the price. Now even the thinning of the roundabout is also leading to the what? To another expense. So I saw the excitement of Ugandans, especially on Twitter, the platform I use so much. They were excited about the 250 million shillings that had been collected within 3 days. And to my mind, I was like, when Ugandans wake up in the morning and choose to be gullible, you cannot do anything about it, because they are looking at the 250 million. But we have had you have had a history of the PPP arrangements, government and the private sector, and we have seen how they have ended up. I think one of the only PPPs that has worked well is the First Technologies, the one for driving permits. I've not had so much wrote around it, but let me give you an example of the Rift Valley Railway. Currently, Uganda Railway is still battling with Rift Valley because they took some of their assets to Kenya. They have not been in position to recover them. And the other arrangement, the one that you can look at that is next to you, is Multiplex. In 2018, the Auditor General revealed that KCA has not been in position to recover money worth 400 million from Multiplex. So Multiplex has been collecting money, but he has not been remitting to KCA. That was by 2018, that was 400 million. The price must have shot. So I don't know where they are getting the excitement of thinking these people will do wonders. Because with time, you're going to hear stories from the other partner talking about our costs of doing business are high, we are not in position to remit funds. But anyway, we are going to give them a benefit of doubt. But I'm not going to join that gang of people who are excited that this arrangement, this money is going to be in position to do what? To pay up the loan, because I feel like I've seen it all. The faith I'm giving it is about 10%, but for the purposes of my own sanity, I think let me retain the 90% for myself, because I've seen a history. I've seen the history how it plays out in this whole arrangement.
Yeah, Priska, you just mentioned how some Ugandans are jubilating, but we all know that Uganda has to pay a loan of 40 years. So do you think when we have to pay a loan of 40 years for a road that we are using, and we have contracted even a French company to be collecting the toll fee, don't you think that road was just constructed to keep us captive, and there are other countries benefiting from it, and for us as Uganda, by the time we start benefiting from it, you might find that the road is no longer in good shape? And what would you think would that mean? Does that qualify the suggestion that most of our decisions are more political and are not economic in nature?
Exactly that. But you're talking about the loan being 40 years. You remember the contract was signed in 2020, and immediately the contract is signed, that takes effect. So from 2020 to 2022, how many years have gone? So that is the time frame now that has remained on the loan. I think the Ugandans need to. I cannot stop them from being hopeful, but they need to tame their excitement and know the kind of government they are working in. And because government is always coming up with this argument, we are in position to clear our debt and what, but it's the rate at which they are paying. Because right now in the coming budget, they have set aside 15 trillion out of the 43 trillion. 15 trillion is going to pay loan interest and things like that. So at that rate, I don't know. And now we have all these loans from the Entebbe Expressway. from the airport and the Karuma Dam and everything. My mind is stuck on the whole excitement. I don't know. Do the people who get excited take time to think through critically the issues they're getting excited about? I'm not so sure about that.
Okay, thank you. Gerald, I want now to bring you on board. You've just heard that we are having in our national budget of 44.7 trillion. We are going to be paying about 15 trillion for debt repayment. And we are still borrowing to finance the construction of most of our infrastructure. And some of these loans come with very harsh terms, but still our political leaders still go for them. Why is it that we are still continuing to borrow to develop some of these roads, yet the term do not really benefit us as a country? And we know that we are in a country whereby most of the money we borrow sometimes don't end up doing the things they are being borrowed for. What's your take on that?
Thank you so much, Abel, for that good question. For any country in the world to achieve a socio-economic development, it must put a lot of efforts in infrastructure development. So, in my opinion, actually, infrastructure development is one of the key things that fosters growth and the development of every other country. Borrowing loans so that we can finance our infrastructure, it is okay with it. I find it okay with it. But the challenge comes on how the terms and conditions and how we utilize these very funds that is meant for this road development and infrastructure development. Uganda, we've not done the capacity building at all. Like for instance, like these big infrastructures, like for instance, road constructions, we've not built our capacity that we can be able to get like these big projects that we can do them by ourselves, so that at least these very big companies like Chinese, we've seen these Enago starting these British companies who are actually repatriating. They are taking all this money that we are using. So I think the decisions that we do make when we are signing off these very contracts, somehow, somewhere, we lose it. We lose it off. It is, of course, like economic decision. Those very economic decisions of developing like these very ports. Uganda, we are not nearby the sea, so like these very ports. These goods and services, we need them. So we need to develop, like the air transport. These very ports, like expanding the Entebbe, this project, the Kabare, developing the Hoima, this Kabare airport. Those are key infrastructures that we see that could contribute to our development. But the terms and conditions, we need to build the capacity as the country, so that we train our specialists, our people, our population, equipping them with the skills that all of the resources, the profits can remain here, and we don't see losing it off. Over to you, Abel.
Government has revived the Uganda Airlines, but there are very many issues that have been taking place within the very airlines that were revived. I'm hoping that they were supposed to help boost Uganda's growth in the airline industry, but we have seen issues concerning the management of the airlines. We have had issues concerning the boards and the staff members. They are fighting for how to put people to be part of the airlines. But we have also seen issues concerning the acquisition of some of the planes that were used have also been queried, because some of the planes that were acquired were substandard and were not effective and efficient enough. Why is it that we are continuing to try to progress in terms of infrastructure development, but some of the decisions we take don't necessarily reflect the political will to develop? Some people use such projects to just steal money from the taxpayers and enrich themselves instead of engaging in infrastructure development that benefits the entire country. Some of them are engaging in it to just loot the resources of the country. Why are we in such a state?
Thank you very much, Abel. I was reading a report produced by the Economic Policy Research Center at Makerere University, EPRC, and the report is on on financing infrastructure development in Uganda. I think it was put out in 2017. This report highlights a number of things, and it touches part of what Priska and Gerard partly shared. It's the situation we find ourselves in as a country. The situation is that increasingly concessional development financing from traditional donors who used to give us grants sometimes has significantly decreased. When it significantly decreases, it means that countries like Uganda find themselves in a situation where they have no choice but to go for the more commercial loans, and these happen to be coming from China. You will understand that China is this country that, and I like it when Priska says they are the ones who came up with the very idea of let us construct Entebbe Expressway. It means that they have also taken over the role of planning, procurement planning in UNRWA. But China is this country that has gone across the continent in Africa. They have built stadiums. They've built standard gauge railways. They are the ones constructing expressways. I was in Nairobi recently, and I saw they are constructing a flyover that is Airport Expressway, Nairobi Jomo Kenyatta Airport Expressway. So they've constructed expressways everywhere, including, and then they have constructed dams. So they've gone everywhere and acted in a copycat style and constructed this. The challenge is that the rates at which we are borrowing this money are too high, and this complicates debt sustainability in Uganda. So as it is now, Uganda is heavily indebted. We notice that from 2000, over the last 20 years, from the year 2000 to date, Uganda has contracted more debt than it contracted in 40 years from independence to the year 2000, when Uganda got debt relief. So therefore, the situation is not a good one. But also there is the element of the high cost of corruption. The report by EPRC points out that the unit cost of every construction infrastructure in Uganda is much higher than it is in the rest of the countries within which which are bordering us in the region. It's much higher. Our unit cost of construction of this infrastructure is higher than it is in Kenya, higher than it is in Tanzania, higher than it is in Burundi, higher than it is in Rwanda. The question is why? And of course, you want to go very far to find answers, because the answers lie in the corruption that has so infested these infrastructures, where you have men and women that come to these public institutions to plan for infrastructure, and they shall only prioritize that infrastructure from which they can reap big. And therefore, corruption notwithstanding, when we go to the question you asked of the airport, of course, Uganda is a country that is synonymous with the things that are not so, whose standard is not so nice. Remember, there was a time in the past when we procured uniforms that could not fit even the children of the soldiers. And then we went on to procure the helicopters, the choppers, military choppers that could not even get off the ground. We have gone ahead and procured locomotives that cannot fit on our rails. You see, in Nigeria, our brothers in Nigeria have this proverb that says that if you are a lizard in your home, there is no way you are going to become a crocodile out. So if you are a lizard, you remain a lizard. That's why they say na lizard in, na lizardo. It means therefore that a country that has been synonymous, government or whatever, that institutions that have been synonymous with these kinds of shoddy and substandard things, would you expect them to deliver first-class aircrafts? Obviously not. But let's give them the benefit of doubt that they did. But when you look at how they are managing it, who decides who gets to be recruited? Are the decisions on who gets to be recruited to the board of Uganda Airlines, who gets to be recruited in the executive office, the people that get to work there, is the decision to recruit these informed by know-how or by know-who? And who is supervising them? And how are we going to make sure that the running of Uganda Airlines is insulated from what we see happening in other institutions? Because in other institutions, you have a junior having much power than the senior. How do we make sure this does not overlap? This kind of cancer does not overlap there. And then you spoke about the political will. The people that are taking these decisions, are they taking these decisions to advance Uganda economically, or are they taking these decisions to make sure that they get to be seen to be doing something in order to entrench their stay in power and get political capital from this? So these are some of the things that we grapple with as citizens, but the question is, it still remains to be seen how far we shall go. But the question of infrastructure, the way we are managing and taking decisions, the way we are failing to draw a clear distinction between a decision that would inform and promote economics and a decision that would inform and entrench politics, we are having a problem. And the fusion between the two are buttressed by the corruption and how the money from corruption comes back to finance politics and then entrench and extend the stay of the regime in power. All these things combine to militate against the taking of decisions that would take Uganda to middle-income status. Back to you, Abel.
Thank you so much, Henry. We are now going to go for a brief break, and then we shall return.